Hi there, and welcome back to Easy Peasy English, the podcast where we make learning English simple, consistent, and full of confidence. I'm so glad you pressed play today. Whether you're out on a walk, doing chores, or just relaxing at home, thank you for choosing to spend these minutes with me, and more importantly, with yourself. Today's message is for anyone who's ever said, I want to improve my English, but I just don't have time. If that's you, I want you to listen closely. Because what I'm about to tell you might take away that pressure you've been carrying for too long. You only need 5 minutes a day. That's right, 5 minutes. Not 50. Not 2 hours. Not a weekend study retreat. Just 5 quiet, focused minutes a day can change everything. Because learning English isn't about doing big, impressive things once in a while. It's about doing small, meaningful things consistently. And 5 minutes is enough to keep your brain connected. 5 minutes is enough to build a habit. 5 minutes, repeated every day, is how real progress begins. We often believe that learning only counts when it's intense. That unless we finish an entire lesson, watch a full video, or study a complete chapter, we haven't done enough. But that's not how our minds really grow. What matters most isn't how long you study, it's how often. Language learning is about rhythm, repetition, connection. And that's why 5 minutes a day can be more powerful than 2 hours once a week. Because 5 minutes builds a chain, a pattern, a habit. Think about what you can do in 5 minutes. You can listen to a podcast like this one. You can say a few sentences out loud to yourself. You can write a quick journal entry, review a few new words, or read one paragraph from a book. You can open your favorite app and repeat yesterday's flashcards. That's it. Simple. Small. But those little moments are seeds. And over time, they grow into confidence, fluency, and flow. The magic of 5 minutes is that it lowers resistance. It doesn't feel scary. You don't need a perfect environment. You don't need to be in the mood. You don't even need to finish a full task. You just need to show up. And once you start, once you give yourself those 5 quiet minutes, you'll often go longer. Because you've already begun. You've taken the hardest step. And momentum starts to carry you forward. Let's be honest, consistency beats intensity every single time. Learning a language isn't about being perfect every day. It's about coming back again and again. It's about keeping that small fire alive, even if some days it burns low. 5 minutes a day reminds you that you're still here. Still trying. Still showing up. And that matters more than any perfect grammar score. There's something powerful that happens when you create a 5-minute habit. You stop relying on motivation. You stop waiting for the perfect time. You train your brain to expect English, to welcome it, to make space for it in your daily life. And soon, it becomes part of your rhythm. It's no longer a task. It's a routine. A part of who you are. And here's the secret, most people never do this. They wait. They plan. They prepare. But they never begin. Not you. You're starting now. You're taking ownership. And even if all you do today is repeat one word or write one sentence, you've done something many people never do, you've shown up. You've built trust with yourself. So the next time your mind says, 5 minutes isn't enough, you tell it this, 5 minutes is enough, because 5 minutes is possible. And possible becomes powerful when you make it a habit. Language isn't learned in a single day. It's learned in the quiet, steady moments that repeat. Day after day. Step after step. Word after word. Sometimes, we underestimate the power of small actions because they don't look dramatic. They don't come with applause or instant results. But think about how anything meaningful is built, not through one big day, but through a series of small ones. A tree doesn't grow overnight. Muscles don't form after one workout. Confidence doesn't appear in one sentence. It all begins with showing up, just a little, every day. And that's why 5 minutes matters so much. It keeps the path open. What happens when you give yourself those 5 minutes? First, you start to feel less overwhelmed. English stops feeling like a huge mountain and starts to feel like a small, doable walk. Then, you begin to build momentum. You begin to trust yourself. I'm someone who shows up. Even if it's small, I keep going. That kind of self-trust creates real progress, because it removes guilt and replaces it with pride. And here's something even more powerful: 5 minutes a day makes you more present. Instead of trying to master everything at once, you focus on one word, one sentence, one sound. You start to notice details you never saw before. You hear the rhythm of a phrase. You understand a joke you once missed. You become more connected to the language because you're paying attention, not rushing through it. That's deep learning. And it only takes 5 minutes to begin. You don't have to wait until you feel motivated. You don't have to wait until Monday, or until the perfect time, or until life gets less busy. 5 minutes means you can start today. Even now. And here's the best part: when you give yourself permission to do just 5 minutes, you actually reduce the fear of starting. There's no pressure. No big expectations. Just a small moment to connect, reflect, and move forward. Some days will feel easy. Others won't. That's normal. That's human. But even when you're tired, even when your brain feels full, even when you feel like skipping the day, 5 minutes is still possible. And when you push through those tough days, even gently, you build something powerful: resilience. You prove to yourself that you don't give up. That you can keep going. That you are building something that matters, one small step at a time. So next time you hear that little voice say, 5 minutes isn't enough, remind yourself that 5 minutes is better than nothing. 5 minutes is everything. Because 5 minutes is where progress begins. And once you begin, there's no limit to how far you can go. The beautiful thing about 5 minutes is that it's a promise you can keep. And keeping promises to yourself builds confidence, not just in English, but in every area of life. It tells your brain, I can depend on myself. I follow through. That's how trust grows. And once you trust yourself, learning becomes lighter. You no longer feel like you're chasing a goal that's always out of reach. Instead, you realize you're already on the path, one quiet, powerful minute at a time. And here's what most people don't see: 5 minutes a day creates a ripple effect. One day, 5 minutes turns into 10. Then 20. Then you're watching full videos, speaking more freely, reading entire articles without even planning to. Not because you forced it, but because your brain got used to showing up. You made English a natural part of your life, like brushing your teeth or drinking water. And when something becomes part of your routine, it stops feeling like a chore and starts feeling like a habit you actually enjoy. Think about the small things you do every day: checking your phone, scrolling social media, watching a quick reel or video. Those actions take minutes too. But they don't always move you closer to your goals. What if you traded just one of those minutes for your English? What if, instead of watching another random video, you watched one short English clip? What if, instead of scrolling, you reviewed 2 words or repeated one phrase out loud? That small choice, one tiny swap, is how you build the life you want. And here's something most learners forget: your 5 minutes doesn't need to be serious. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be real. You could talk to yourself in the mirror, sing along to a song, write a silly sentence, or voice note a friend in English. You don't need a textbook. You don't need a quiet room. You just need intention. 5 minutes of playful, curious English practice is still progress. It still counts. It always counts. There will be days when you feel stuck, unmotivated, or tired. On those days, the goal isn't to push hard, the goal is just to show up. Even if you just listen to an English sentence and repeat it once. Even if you open your notebook and read yesterday's notes. Even if you just think in English for a moment. That counts. That keeps the connection alive. And that's what creates long-term growth, staying connected to the language, even when life is busy or your energy is low. 5 minutes a day isn't about speed, it's about sustainability. It's about building something you can carry with you, day after day, no matter what else is happening in your life. When you trust the process, when you give yourself permission to go slow, you actually go farther. You avoid burnout. You stay curious. And most importantly, you keep going. Because in the end, success in English isn't about doing everything at once. It's about doing something, even something small, again and again. That's the magic of 5 minutes. It might not feel like much. But over time, it changes everything. Here's something worth remembering: when you give just 5 minutes to English, you're also giving yourself 5 minutes of self-respect. You're saying, my growth matters. My dreams matter. Even in the middle of a busy day, I'm worth 5 minutes. That small act of self-prioritization is powerful. It's not just about the language, it's about who you are becoming while learning it. You're becoming someone who doesn't wait for the perfect moment. Someone who finds opportunity in the in-between spaces, the train ride, the lunch break, the time before bed. And it's in those ordinary moments, when no one is watching, that real transformation begins. Most people think big change needs big effort. But real growth often hides in the small, quiet actions we repeat without applause. One of the biggest lies learners believe is that they need to study for hours to improve. That if they don't commit to long sessions, it's not even worth it. But that belief leads to pressure, and pressure leads to procrastination. Then, days go by with no practice at all. And suddenly, English feels like a mountain again. But when you break that belief and say, 5 minutes is enough for today, you remove the barrier. You make learning possible, every day. Let's say today you only practiced for 5 minutes. You might think, that's not enough to remember anything. But the truth is, your brain remembers what is repeated, not what is crammed. Those 5 minutes, repeated consistently, become part of your memory. You hear a phrase every day, and suddenly you start using it naturally. You review a few words daily, and over time they become part of your speech. That's how habits work, not in big moments, but in daily repetition. And the beauty of this approach is that it fits into your life. It doesn't demand perfection. It doesn't ask you to pause everything else. Instead, it works with you. Whether you're a student, a parent, an employee, or just someone trying to make time in a busy world, 5 minutes a day respects your reality. It meets you where you are, and walks with you forward. You see, when people say they don't have time to learn English, what they often mean is they don't have an hour. But you don't need an hour. You need a decision. A small one. A simple one. A daily one. Because 5 minutes is not just practice, it's a message to yourself: I haven't given up. I'm still moving. I'm still growing. And when you look back, 1 month, 3 months, a year from now, you'll see just how far 5 minutes a day took you. You'll hear yourself speaking with more confidence. You'll understand more naturally. You'll smile at conversations that once felt impossible. And you'll realize, all of this started with just 5 minutes. Think about how many days you've already spent saying, I'll start tomorrow. How many times you've told yourself, I'll study when I have more time. But tomorrow always brings new tasks, new distractions, new excuses. That's why 5 minutes today is so powerful, because it breaks the cycle. It stops the waiting. It turns someday into today. And that small shift, from waiting to doing, changes your mindset completely. When you take 5 minutes, you don't just build language skills, you build self-discipline. You prove to yourself that you don't need motivation to act. You don't need perfect conditions. You just need to start. That's where real confidence comes from, not from knowing everything, but from knowing that you will keep going, no matter what. And that's why 5 minutes is so much more than it seems. It's not just a shortcut or a lazy version of studying. It's a practical, sustainable, human way to learn. Because life gets busy. Energy runs low. But if you know that 5 minutes is enough to stay connected, you'll never feel like you're falling behind. You'll never feel like you're failing just because you couldn't do more. That's one of the biggest mindset shifts a learner can make, from measuring effort by time, to measuring it by consistency. It's not about how long you practice, it's about how often you do it. Would you rather practice for 3 hours once a month, or 5 minutes every day? One keeps you distant. The other keeps you moving. And movement, no matter how small, leads to growth. You might think, but can 5 minutes really change my English? Yes, because those 5 minutes train your brain to think in English regularly. They remind your mouth how to shape the words. They expose your ears to real pronunciation, rhythm, and tone. And maybe most importantly, they remind your heart that you're still in the game. That you still care. That you're still trying. And when you care, even a little, amazing things happen. Your awareness sharpens. You start to notice phrases in movies, lyrics in songs, signs on the street. English becomes part of your world, not just something you study. You begin to live with it. And when you live with a language, you naturally grow in it, not through pressure, but through presence. So don't let the simplicity of 5 minutes fool you. It's not small. It's not weak. It's a quiet act of belief in yourself. And over time, that belief becomes unstoppable. Because every time you say, I only have 5 minutes, but I'm going to use them, you are showing up for your dream. And dreams are built that way, one honest minute at a time. And here's something really important, when you decide to give yourself just 5 minutes a day, you take back control. You stop relying on motivation to magically appear. You stop waiting for the perfect time. Instead, you become the kind of person who takes action, even when life is messy, even when you're tired, even when the day didn't go as planned. And that identity shift. That's powerful. That's what separates those who grow from those who give up. 5 minutes doesn't just build language skills, it builds momentum. Because once you start, something inside you changes. You begin to feel proud. You begin to notice progress. And that progress, no matter how small, inspires you to keep going. That's how habits are born. Not from pressure. Not from guilt. But from showing up, doing your best, and realizing, hey, that wasn't so hard after all. Even better. When you build this daily habit, you stop fearing the days when you don't feel motivated. You already know how to move forward, not by doing everything, but by doing something. That's why 5 minutes matters so much. It teaches you consistency. And consistency is the bridge between where you are now and where you want to be. Some learners wait months, even years, thinking they need the perfect course, the right teacher, the ideal routine. But you don't need perfect. You need practice. You need presence. You need to stop postponing your progress and start honoring your time, even just 5 minutes of it. And here's something else that's beautiful, your 5 minutes might inspire someone else. A friend. A classmate. A stranger online. When people see you showing up consistently, even in small ways, it gives them permission to do the same. Your tiny habit becomes a ripple. And that ripple spreads more confidence, more courage, more belief into the world. So no, this isn't just about English. This is about building a version of yourself who takes steps forward, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's not. And every time you do that, you strengthen your voice. Not just your English voice, but your inner voice. The one that says, I'm proud of you for showing up. You might not see the change immediately. That's okay. Most powerful growth is invisible at first. But trust me, those 5 minutes are working. Quietly. Gently. deeply. And one day, without even realizing it, you'll respond in English without thinking. You'll hear a phrase and understand it instantly. You'll help someone else who's just starting. And you'll think, wow. This all started with 5 minutes. You see, when you practice English for just 5 minutes a day, you're not just learning a skill, you're building a relationship. A relationship with the language, yes, but also a relationship with yourself. A version of you that keeps promises. A version of you that says, I'm worth the effort, even if it's just for a few minutes. And that kind of self-trust doesn't just help with English, it echoes into every part of your life. Because if you can be consistent here, in this small act of daily practice, imagine what else you can do. Imagine what other habits you can build. Imagine the kind of confidence that grows when you stop waiting to feel ready and just begin, 5 minutes at a time. That's not just a language habit. That's a life skill. And the amazing part? Some of your biggest breakthroughs will happen on the days you almost skipped. On the days when you had every excuse not to show up, but you did anyway. Maybe you only listened to a podcast for 5 minutes. Maybe you just reviewed a few words. But those small wins matter, especially on the hard days. Because that's when you're building discipline. That's when you're showing your future self what's possible. And let's not forget, language is emotional. It's not just about studying with your head. It's about staying connected with your heart. And sometimes, 5 minutes is all you need to stay in love with English. To keep the spark alive. To remind yourself why you started. To say, yes, I'm still on this journey. You don't need to do everything. You don't need to finish the book, or the lesson, or the course in one sitting. That kind of thinking leads to burnout. But 5 minutes? That's sustainable. That's gentle. That's powerful in its simplicity. 5 minutes respects your limits and your goals. So if you're listening to this and thinking, but I've wasted so much time, let that thought go. Today is what matters. Not the missed days, or the long break, or the old plan you didn't finish. What matters is the next 5 minutes. What matters is that you begin again, with kindness, with courage, and with trust in yourself. Because consistency isn't about never missing a day. It's about always coming back. It's about saying, I may fall behind, but I won't give up. And when that's your mindset, 5 minutes a day becomes more than a study habit, it becomes a daily reminder of who you are and who you're becoming. Thanks so much for spending these moments with me today on Easy Peasy English. I hope today's episode reminded you that even the smallest effort, even just 5 minutes, can lead to big, beautiful progress. You don't need a perfect routine. You don't need hours of free time. You just need the courage to begin. And every time you show up, even for a few minutes, you are building something powerful. You're creating a habit. You're creating consistency. You're creating momentum. So if today you feel busy, tired, distracted, that's okay. You still have 5 minutes. Use them. Listen to a song. Read a short article. Practice speaking one sentence out loud. That's enough. Because 5 minutes a day is not about doing everything. It's about not giving up. Be proud of yourself for showing up, not just for this episode, but for yourself. You're doing something meaningful. Something that matters. And I'm so glad I get to walk this journey with you. Remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be yours. And 5 minutes a day. That's more than enough to keep moving forward. You've got this. See you in the next episode. Until then, keep going. Keep learning. And most of all, keep being kind to yourself.